Okay, hello guys, welcome back. Right? New video. Today's topic is economic and political reforms. I have my iPad out today, so I can write better. I can write. 이런 tutorial so my tutorial my know. Um, so reforms के बारे में पूरा बोलना पड़ेगा so actually last live stream 만세 I got 50 views, so that's huge for me. And my dad was like, uh, did a video edit. It's still the day issues arrive, so we had a good discussion about that. So if my dad is watching, hello, welcome. I'm here to address some of those issues, um, some of those concerns, and really delve deep. I think my mom mentioned that she was watching it too, or she was gonna watch it. So, um, that's all good. I'm like, even if just like my parents watch it, I'm happy. But yeah, this time I'm gonna talk more about the first thing that I talked about. Right? The first thing was reduce the size of the state. Right? Reduce the size of the state. Now I'm not just talking about the government. I'm talking about the entire state. Right? The state is everything. Right? The state includes the local level, the provincial level, the 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 federal level, right? So all three branches, right? So you have the local, right? You have this one, and then you have so the federal, the provincial, and the local, right? It includes all the bureaucracy that goes with it. It it includes all the transfer payments, social security, all these things, right? So I'm saying transfers, right? I'm saying take all of this, right, and just make it just multiplied by some number that is less than 1, so maybe zero point 0.8, right? And in theory, you would save zero point 0.8, you'd save 20% of the budget, right? So I've been doing some research and I've been looking at some numbers. Okay, so I have numbers this time, and so that'll be exciting to really go through the numbers. Um, So let's kind of understand the current situation, right? To really understand like what I believe is the problem. So there are 6,743 wards. 6,743 wards. Okay, all these guys have at least one ward Daksha, right? At least one ward of Daksha. So you have at least 6,743 ward of Daksha, and all these ward of Dakshas might have, you know, like I don't even know, 1 to 3 employees plus ward building, right? So you have all these things. These are all costs. Buildings come with recurring maintenance, right? Employees come with salary, right? Water ductions, I mean, these guys might even come with like vehicles, right? So I don't know, but I'm gonna say maybe vehicles, right? I don't know, maybe, but we do know that they have to get paid, and the water and the employees in the ward have to, and rightfully so. If you have there are some roles that are separated, that are delegated to these wards. They have certain jobs to do, and so rightfully they need employees to get those jobs done, and so they have to get paid. And so this is kind of the condition, and now you have, you know if it's just 2 employees, right? I don't know. So let's say one, on average, it's just 2 employees, right? You have, almost 20k employees, right? 20k employees. It's a lot of people, right? So because you have 6,743 wards, times that by three. If they have two employees plus one water lecture, so looking like a lot of people, right? Okay, okay. So this is the number of. These are the wards, Nepal wards, right? Nepal municipality. So I'm going to be doing a lot of researching as well in this. So so local level there are 743. Right? 743 uh, municipalities. Okay, 743 municipalities again. Mayor, mayor, right? And and then they have the Paliga, which is composed of all the wards. But I'm sure these people also come with, ex employees, right? I don't know what X is. Maybe one to 10, right? Some might have 10 employees. How many employees does Balin have, right? In Kathmandu Nagarpalika, who knows? They have Salakas and peons and Sativs and Audikrits and Hakims. Or I guess Hakim's not a role, but you have all these things. You have all these roles, right? Okay, all right. So these are we know there are we know there are basically 700, not 43, but 753. Okay, 753 municipalities. Okay, and I had this. I was looking at this as well, and this is the provincial government, provincial assemblies of Nepal. So you have 93, 107, 110, all these, this absurd number of people, but basically 550 legislative members. Okay, these are legislative members, and then you also have, right, so you have the chief mins plus. Oh, you can't. I just realized you can't see this. So here we go. This is my iPad. So chief mins, right, plus maybe even deputy chief minister, but I don't know, right. And something that's important to know is that in every single one of these assemblies, every single one, right? Look, okay, first 5 terms, one guy, okay, but in 2 terms there have been 3 different people from Koshi, right? Modest, there's been only actually Modest Brothers is actually the most stable in this case, right? Only 2, which is great. And actually, this guy, is he the incumbent? No, he's not the incumbent. Okay, well that's regardless, right? And Bagmati as well, just 2 people. But all these other ones, huh? Never mind, that's also good. This one though, oh, that's good. Karnani. Oh, wait, wait, I'm looking at something else. I'm looking at the speaker. One, two, three, four. Sorry, so I was totally right. I just looking at one, two, three, four. Okay, four. Okay, one, two, three, four. One, two, three, one, two, three, four, four, six. Six in Lumbini. What the heck? Gondaki. One, two, three, four, five, six. 6 people. Okay, Bagmati. One, two, three, four, five. 5 people. So these are not the speakers. These are the chief ministers. 3. Okay. I mean, Goshi Brothers is a mess. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. 9 chief ministers in 2 terms. Are you kidding me? UML Congress. UML Congress. What the heck is this? Right? And so you have all these people, chief ministers, plus their people and their plus uh plus like staffers, plus um vehicles, right? Plus buildings. I mean, I don't even want to look up, right, how much a legislative member gets paid because I have the numbers. I have the aggregate numbers. Okay, so let's look at Oiselu Parka rural municipality, or just I don't even know why I'm looking at this, but okay, so we're looking at Oiselu Parka rural municipality, right? It's a rural municipality that has 7 wards. Okay, 7 wards, Um, population 16,000. Okay, this municipality, right? AK, right? Kaisilu Korgo has 16K people. Okay, it has 7 wards. Okay, interesting. For 16, there are only 16,000 people, but you have 7 wards. I mean, are you serious? Like, really? 7 wards? Um, but okay. I mean, okay. All right, list of this is something else. I wanna look at something like this. Let me look at province one. I want to look at the municipalities. These are the mountains. Districts, municipality. Okay, so cities. Uh, urban cities, autos. Okay. List of municipalities in Nepal. Actually, I have this map. Okay. Okay. So I mean, I think so. Mysore Korga is in Khotang, right? So Khotang. Okay. So yeah, we have all these guys, right? Um, I just picked a random one, right? Let me go to Zappa. Okay, click. So I'm looking at Zappa now. Zappa has that many, right? I just want to look at like let me see something that has a large Damak. Okay, so Damak municipality. Let's look at this. Damak municipality has okay. So now Damak. Why did I just say Damak? Damak has 107K. It has 10 wards. Okay, so 10 wards can handle 107 people, but you need 7 wards for 16,000 people. It doesn't make sense, right? So there is a population disparity here, as in, a ward isn't composed of X people, right? And that's consistent through all districts across the country. It's not there. I mean, it's like arbitrarily made because of political and um, political or political and just arbitrary reasons, right? So 107, right? Okay, that's fair. I want to look at Kathmandu uh, metro, Kathmandu metropolitan city, and I want to just look at the just the just that here. Number of wards, 32 wards. Right? Population of 845. Right? So you have 842, right? 45. Okay, has 32. Okay, well, um, right. So best case scenario, 845 divided by 32, right? One ward can handle 26,000. Best case. Kathmandu has shown that. Okay, 107 divided by 10. Domak, 10.7. 10.7 thousand people per ward. Okay. Oisilo Korgo, it's 7, so it's 2.28K, right? And I'm sure these guys are getting paid. The water lecture from one of these wards is getting paid very close to something that somebody from Domak is getting paid, right? Well, what's the it's like 20,000 to 30,000, right? It's still 20,000, right? So there, it's okay. So that's that. Yeah, I mean, this is a very cool map. I think, very very cool map. All provinces. I want to just look at like I want to look at Kembangma. Actually, just to get pissed off, right? Just to get Umla, right? How many does Umla have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, uh, click that. And I'm not trying to pick on Umla. I'm not trying to make Umla look like the bad guy here. But Sonny Kelly. Killy has 7 wards. Population, population 5. Okay, well look at that. 5517 divided by 7. Now, some people, you might argue that okay, you need 7 wards so that people can get government services, right? Okay, sure, yeah, that makes sense. So that 데레마들이 있나 보네요, but at some point, what's the number? Like how many wards do you need per person, right? Okay, that's 788. So my argument here is that, right. So number one problems, right? These are the problems with country. Corruption. How does corruption happen, right? It's not just corruption in the federal scale, it's corruption everywhere. You have corruption everywhere, right? And so what does that mean? That means um, every level money is being siphoned off, right? So all three of these levels, right? So federal, P, local, you have money being siphoned off, right? So green, you have all this money, all the green and money getting minus, right? It's turning into black money, okay, from all levels. Um, but and so how I like to think about it is corruption is just a form. It's not just that. It's like commission, right? So there are like kind of two large, two categories, two of, right. This is first is public embezzlement, right? So embezzlement and commissions. Commissions are if somebody comes to you and says, I want that tender. Can I give you some money so that you can give me that tender? Or it's like you go to make your nagrita, right? And the hakim says, you got to pay me X amount of money so that, right, that's commission, right? This is private funds. This is private funds, right? This is private funds going into turning it, this is private funds being corrupted, right? This is private funds. Red is bad. Embezzlement is taking public money, right? So this is public funds, either directly transferring it into your bank account, which is very hard to do. I think more likely it's using the government vehicle, right? Say invoicing fuel for your personal use and saying that it's for official purpose or for other purpose. I'll show you the aggregate data here in a second, but you have all these uh, buying meals, right? Um, Allowances and dearness, all these other health reasons, right? You're taking money for health reasons, right? This is embezzlement, right? And so when the state is very large, right? When the state is very large, you're very susceptible to embezzlement, right? Commission, you can't really solve this by reducing the size of the state. This really you have to fix by better laws, governance, and judicial system, right? A governance would be like better policing, investigation, right? Policing, investigation, right? Journalism. This needs a better structural system, right? But if you have fewer of these, if you have fewer entities which can collect commissions, right? Um, it would seem it would seem that you would have fewer ways for these entities to collect commissions, right? It would be more centralized. You'd have fewer. So मलाई वार्डमा गएर के गर्नु पर्यो भने yes, there is one hakim, but हुन्छ नि उसले एउटा एउटा वार्डबाट होइन 100 जनाबाट कमिसन तान्न सजिलो तर एउटा वार्डबाट 1000जनाको चाहिँ कमिसन तान्न अलिकति गाह्रो हुन्छ किनभने यत्रो मान्छेले त त्यो हुन्छ नि एउटा न एउटा कुरा त फुत्किन सक्छ नि त सो आई थिङ्क यसमा चाहिँ अलिकति बढी रिस्क हुन्छ मलाई लाग्छ द्याट्स जस्ट माई आर्ग्युमेन्ट होइन but I think if you reduce the size of the state, obviously, so you would prevent embezzlement, but you would also prevent commission. That's my argument, right? And so you reduce corruption, right? So you reduce corruption, right? But you also reduce government spending, right? You reduce government spending, okay, and and that reduces the budget, right? Budget slash expenditure, right? And you can allocate the money into useful stuff. Okay, so what I've a big trend right I'm seeing right now सबैजनाको यो तपाईँको चाहिँ सल्युसन भनेको के भन्दाखेरि अहिलेको प्रपोज सल्युसन है त के छ प्रदेश खारेज र अप्रत्यक्ष निर्वाचित कार्यकारी मेरो रसो दिनु अलिकति मिलेन होला तर त्यसको लागि चाहिँ माफी पाऊँ होइन कार्यकारी प्रत्यक्ष निर्वाचित म so I'll talk about this है त this is now I'm getting topical अहिले जे चल्छ चलिरहेको छ I'm kind of यो सबै किन गरेँ भन्दाखेरि यो सबै गर्नुको अर्थ के हो यो सबै यत्रो लेखेर यो टक गर्नुको अर्थ के भन्दाखेरि मलाई लाग्दैन कि प्रदेश खारेज चाहिँ गुड आइडिया मलाई चाहिँ ब्याड आइडिया लाग्छ है होइन तपाईँको यो आरएसपीले पनि यही उमार गरेको छ होइन सबैजनाले प्रदेश खारेज होइन तपाईँको चाहिँ स्वागत नेपालदेखि आरएसपीदेखि अब सबैजनाले धेरै मान्छेहरूले चाहिँ प्रदेश खारेजको कुरा गरिरहेको छ होइन सो मैले चाहिँ सो मैले भन्छु नो प्रदेश खारेज होइन र म दिन्छु देयर इज ए अल्टरनेटिभ ओके सो यसको लागि चाहिँ फर्स्टमा चाहिँ यो कन्स्टिट्युसन पढौँ होइन कन्स्टिट्युसन पढौँ एन्ड देन वी क्यान टक मोर about is better होइन सो समय पढिसकेको छु सो अब यसमा पनि मलाई धेरै कुरा गर्नु छ कि सेड्युल 5मा छ है तल सेड्युलमा छ यसमा सबै यसको पावरहरू दिएको छ लिस्ट अफ concurrent federation and state भनेर होइन लिस्ट अफ स्टेट पावर बाहेक सो स्टेटको पावर चाहिँ के हुन्छ त औपचारिक रूपमा अथवा संवैधानिक रूपमा चाहिँ के छ त स्टेट पुलिस एडमिनिस्ट्रेसन एन्ड पिस एन्ड अर्डर होइन सो पुलिस मलाई लाग्छ पुलिसिङ चाहिँ यो नेसनली हुनु पर्दैन फेडरल गभर्मेन्टसँग आर्मी छ सो पुलिस चाहिँ 7वटामा डिभाइड गर्नु नेपाल पुलिस चाहिँ 7वटामा उ गरिदिने र यसको पूर्ण ऊ चाहिँ 2 3 7 यसको पूर्ण अधिकार चाहिँ प्रोभिन्सलाई दिने है त्यसो यो 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 आई मिन यो खासै केही छैन होइन अपरेसन अफ ब्याङ्क्स एन्ड फाइनेन्सियल इन्स्टिट्युसन्स यो ठिकसँग लेखाएको छ तर यसको खासै महत्त्व दिन्न मैले अपरेसन अफ रेडियो यो पनि खासै अब के होइन यो लेखिरहनु पर्दैन क्या यस्तो कुराहरू चाहिँ तपाईँको यसको अब अमेरिकाको कन्स्टिट्युसन हेर्ने भने अमेरिकाले चाहिँ यहाँ न यहाँ के गरेछ भन्दाखेरि फेडरल पावर्स भनेको चाहिँ यहाँ जे 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 तोकेको कसरी लेखेको छ भन्दाखेरि यो प्याराग्राफमा यो हरफमा तोकेको चिजहरू चाहिँ स्टेटको पावर हो के अरे फेडरल गभर्मेन्टको पावर हो र यहाँ नतोकेको कुराहरू चाहिँ सबै स्टेटलाई दिएको छ सबै के पूर्ण रूपमा स्टेटको पावर छ होइन र स्टेट्सहरू चाहिँ धेरै पावरको छन् अमेरिकामा आई डोन्ट थिङ्क कि that has to be the case in Nepal, right? I think it historically has been a unitary government, a central government, right? And so you can understand that history and you can kind of say, okay, but we want some devolution of power, right? We want You got provinces so that these guys can kind of develop in their own way. Still, you know. So it doesn't have to be like that, right? But it doesn't. You also don't have to say, okay, operation of radio is a power that you have, right? You could say, you know, um, based on federal laws, right? So यस्तो हुन्छ तपाईँको संविधान हुन्छ संविधान भयो cons होइन त्यसपछि यहाँ चाहिँ तपाईँको फेडरल ल छ फेडरल छ होइन यो चाहिँ फेडरल पार्लियामेन्टबाट आएको ल भयो है ठिक छ फेडरलले के अधिकार दिन सक्छ उसलाई होइन तर कति कुरा त हामीले प्रोभिन्सलाई नै त्यतिकै छोडिदिन सक्छौँ क्या भनेको ठिक छ कन्स्टिट्युसनभित्र बस्नु पऱ्यो होइन फेडरल लभित्र पनि बस्नु पऱ्यो तर पूर्ण रूपमा फेडरल लभित्र बस्नु पर्दैन क्या सो फेडरल लले नबनाएको कुराहरू पनि प्रोभिन्स चाहिँ एक्सप्लोर गर्न पायो भने राम्रो हुन्छ र सेम विथ स्टेट होइन स्टेटलाई पनि हामीले यसरी राख्यो भने पूर्ण रूपमा चाहिँ यसरी लोकल पनि यसरी बस्यो भने द्याट्स गुड होइन सो ठिक छ यहाँ नलेखेको चिजहरू प्रोभिन्सले गर्न सक्छ अथवा चाहिँ नि प्रोभिन्सले अधिकार आफ्नो युज गर्न पाउँछ तर वाट्स द चेक अन द्याट होइन अनि यी कुराहरू चाहिँ कुनै प्रोभिन्स चाहिँ के गर्यो भने चाहिँ यु क्यान लेजिस्लेट दिस थ्रु द कोर्ट्स राइट सो हामीले के गर्न सकिन्छ भन्दाखेरि बागमती प्रदेशमा चाहिँ धेरै पावर छ अरे र बागमती प्रदेशले चाहिँ के गर्यो अरे अनि त्यसपछि बागमती प्रदेशमै बसेको मान्छेलाई चाहिँ त्यो मन परेन अरे होइन र उसले चाहिँ त्यो मुद्दा हाल्न सक्छ है त्यो चाहिँ अनि डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्टमा जान सक्छ स्थानीय कोर्टमा जान सक्छ स्थानीय कोर्टले पनि यो ठिक छ यो गर्न पाउँछ भन्यो अरे त्यो मान्छेले चित्त बुझेन उसले अपिल गर्छ हायर कोर्टमा डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्टमा जान्छ डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्टले नि एक्चुअली बागमतीले केही गलत गरेको छैन भन्छ अरे फेरि अपिल गर्छ अरे लास्टमा सर्वोच्चमा जान्छ अरे सर्वोच्चले भन्छ एक्चुअली गलत गरेर रहेछ सरकारले यसलाई सच्याउनु पऱ्यो भने त्यही नै कानुन हुन्छ नि त होइन सो यत्रो यहाँ यत्रो कन्स्टिट्युसन छ यत्रो खाली देख्न पनि यो सबै चाहिँ नि यो सर्वोच्च यो अदालतहरूले गर्नु पायो कि अदालतले र केस लबाटै चाहिँ हामीले अगाडि बढ्न सक्छौँ क्या यो होइन सबै कुरा ऐनमा लेख्नुपर्छ भन्ने पनि छैन सबै कुरा तपाईँको चाहिँ संविधानमै लेख्नुपर्छ भन्ने पनि छैन होइन तर संविधानभित्र जानु पऱ्यो नमानौँ कुनै उसले चाहिँ कुनै एउटा गभर्मेन्ट एन्टिटीले चाहिँ यहाँ गैर कानुनी गैर संवैधानिक कुरा गरेर यो कुरा त तुरुन्तै चाहिँ सर्वोच्चमा ल्याएर गएर होइन यो कुरा त तपाईँको चाहिँ यो कुरा तुरुन्तै सर्वोच्चमा ल्याएर गएर सर्वोच्चले यो गर्नु हुँदैन भनेर खारेज गरिदिन सक्छ नि त यो सर्वोच्चको अधिकारले त्यो गर्न सकिन्छ नि त अथवा कुनै कानुन सर्वोच्चमै लिएर जानुपर्छ भन्ने छैन यो कुराहरू यो मामलाहरू तपाईँको चाहिँ यो चाहिँ तपाईँको एउटा लोवर कोर्टले पनि यसलाई खारेज गरिदिन सक्छ क्या सर्वोच्चमै जानुपर्छ भन्ने छैन अनि यो मैले किन भने भन्दाखेरि अब यस्तो अब यो संविधान मलाई यो संविधान गतिलो लाग्दैन होइन मैले जहिले पनि संविधान मेरो साथीहरूले तकियो पार्टीको झोले होस् कि के हो यो अरू पार्टी म चाहिँ संविधान प्रोटेक्ट गर्नुपर्छ संविधान सबै कुरा संवैधानिक रूपमा जानु अगाडि बढ्नुपर्छ संविधानलाई खेलाची गर्नु हुँदैन भन्छु मान्छेहरूले भन्छ त कुन चाहिँ पार्टीको झोले हो कुन चाहिँ सदस्य हो कुन चाहिँ उसको कार्यकर्ता हो तर we spent a lot of बलिदान lot of resources building a republic होइन रिपब्लिक फाउन्ड भएको छ क्या रिपब्लिक भनेको चाहिँ के भन्दाखेरि यो चाहिँ घरको जग हो कि यो माथि चाहिँ घर बन्दैछ एउटा होइन यो चाहिँ घर हो होइन यो मानौँ यो चाहिँ एउटा हामीले एउटा घर बनाउँदैछौँ है बनाउँदैछौँ होइन यस्तो एउटा घर बनाउँदैछौँ ठिक छ है होइन जसरी चाहिँ यो हाम्रो रिपब्लिक जब चाहिँ हामीले बनायौँ र 2015को कन्स्टिट्युसनले चाहिँ यो रिपब्लिकलाई सुरु गर्यो यो चाहिँ रिपब्लिकको इतिहास है 15 अब अहिले 2025मा प्रोटेस्ट भयो होइन तर यो उसले चाहिँ जग बनाइसकेको छ कि एउटा जग बनाइसकेको छ होइन एउटा जग बनाइसकेको छ यो जग अस्थिर छ म मान्छु राम्रो जग छैन होइन तर जहिले पनि हामीले चाहिँ एकदम फन्डामेन्टली यो फिलोसफिकली हेर्नुपर्छ क्या संविधान किन बनाइयो त भन्दाखेरि हामीले एकअर्काले हामी मानव जाति हो होइन अब भगवान्ले चाहिँ के सरी यो राजाले चाहिँ उसको उसले रुल गर्ने अधिकार कहाँबाट लिएर आयो त भन्दाखेरि उसले चाहिँ श्री 5 होइन महाराज धीराज भनेर गएको थियो हामी चाहिँ भगवान्ले पठाएको हामी चाहिँ इन्द्रको कि कसको चाहिँ एउटा अवतार हो होइन त्यस्तो त्यस्तो कुरा गर्छन् गडले दिएको अथोरिटीले हामीले तिमीहरूलाई रुल गरेको हुन्छ होइन तर अहिले त त्यो होइन नि त मन्त्रीहरू किन मन्त्री भयो प्रधानमन्त्री किन प्रधानमन्त्री भयो प्रतिनिधिहरू किन प्रतिनिधि भयो हाम्रो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ बिकज हामी मानव हो ल हामीले यो कुराहरू रियलाइज गऱ्यौँ कि हामीले एकअर्कालाई गभर्न गर्न सक्छौँ होइन
र एकअर्कालाई गभर्न गर्ने भने हामीले एउटा शासनभित्र बस्नुपर्छ, एउटा शासनी कानुनी शासनमा चाहिँ बस्नुपर्छ, रुल अफ लमा बस्नुपर्छ, राइट? किनभने तँ पावरमा हुँदाखेरि मलाई नराम्रो नहोस्, म पावरमा हुँदाखेरि तँलाई नराम्रो नहोस् भन्ने यस्तो यस्तो एउटा सम्झौता भएको छ। यो सोसल कन्ट्र्याक्ट क्रिएट भयो होइन, र हामीले त्यो रिपब्लिक सुरु गरिसक्यौँ, राइट? अब फेरि यो संविधानलाई खारेज गर्यो, फेरि अर्को रिपब्लिक सुरु गर्यो भने त यो यसले कस्तो मेसेज देखिन्छ र कस्तो प्रेसिडेन्ट सेट गर्छ भन्ने कुरा हुन्छ नि त। भविष्यमा चाहिँ होइन प्रत्येकचोटि चाहिँ यो रिपब्लिक फेरिरहेछ, अनि त्यसपछि अब 2050मा चाहिँ कसैले चित्त बुझेन अरे यसले फेरि अर्को रिपब्लिक सुरु गरिदिने होइन, त्यसपछि चाहिँ 2200मा चाहिँ उसलाई फेरि मनपर्ने उसले अर्को 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 ऊ गरिदिने होइन। त्यो त्यो खालेको ऊ चाहिँ गर्नु हुँदैन, त्यसले चाहिँ जग नै बनाउँदैन क्या, जग एकदम तोरी हुन्छ होइन। र यो जब यो हामीले घर बनाउन थालिसक्यौँ यो संविधानमा, संविधानको जगमा, अब जगमा इस्यु छ भने नि अब त्यो जगलाई कसरी चाहिँ सच्याउने भन्ने हामीले एउटा दिएको छौँ नि त, एउटा एउटा प्रक्रिया दिएको छौँ, त्यो संविधानमै छ होइन। अझै चित्त बुझेन भन्नु हुँदैन क्या, त्यो फेरि त्यो जगलाई चाहिँ उ गर्ने, अनि त्यसपछि अहिले आएर चाहिँ ए हो त्यो भनेको त्यो हुन्छ नि, यो गैर संवैधानिक कुराहरू गर्नु भनेको चाहिँ यो जगलाई चाहिँ अब ठिक छ, अब 10 वर्षको लागि मात्रै टिक्ने गरेर यसलाई उ गरिदिउँ न त होइन। अब फेरि यो सबै भत्काएर उ गर्नुभन्दा होइन, नयाँ बनाउनुभन्दा ठिक छ, अब जग कमजोर छ, यता मात्रै सिमेन्ट हालिदिउँ, यहाँ पनि सिमेन्ट हालिदिउँ, यहाँ पनि सिमेन्ट हालिदिउँ होइन। अनि त्यसपछि चाहिँ यतिको अहिले बसौँ होइन, किनभने हामीले 10 वर्ष मात्रै टिके नै हुन्छ, त्यो त्यो त्यसरी हुँदैन नि त। हामीले बलियो जग बनाउनुपर्छ होइन। यहाँ चाहिँ सिमेन्ट चाहिएको छ अरे होइन, यहाँ चाहिँ बालुवा चाहिएको छ अरे, यहाँ चाहिँ गिटी, यहाँ चाहिँ तपाईँको गिटी चाहिएको छ अरे, अनि यो सबै गर्नुपर्छ क्या, हामीले यसरी नै गर्नुपर्छ क्या, र जसरी तोकिएको छ त्यसरी नै गर्नुपर्छ क्या। यो एकदम स्पेसिफिक भएर चाहिँ हामीले जगलाई बलियो बनाउनुपर्छ क्या, सो द्याट यो जग चाहिँ बलियो नै रहोस् होइन। अनि त्यसपछि भविष्यमा 2050मा पनि कसैले चाहिँ पछाडि मलाई मनपर्ने व्यवस्था ठिक छ, मन परेन भने कानुनी रूपमा हो, जनताको मत लिएर हो होइन। त्यो त हामीले त्यो प्रक्रिया त हामीले त्यहाँ लेखेका छौँ नि त। सो आई थिङ्क त्यस्तो कुराहरूमा चाहिँ यो रिपब्लिक सुरु भइसक्यो होइन। हामीलाई हामीलाई गणतन्त्र चाहिएको, हामीलाई गणतन्त्र चाहिएको, हामीलाई डेमोक्रेसी चाहिएको होइन, हामीलाई चाहिँ एउटा सफा व्यवस्था चाहिएको, एउटा सफा व्यवस्था चाहिएको, रिपब्लिक गठन भइसक्यो राइट। अब यो यस्तो कुराहरू गरेर होइन नयाँ नेपाल निर्माण गर्ने भनेको छ, नयाँ त्यही त नयाँ नेपाल निर्माण गर्ने भनेको छ, तर कस्तो जगमा चाहिँ बनाइरहेछ। नयाँ नेपालमा चाहिँ सबै कुरा राम्रो हुनुपर्ने होइन। फेरि उही पारा हो भने त जसरी पनि भन्न पायो भने देशलाई चाहिँ एउटा एउटा जोग बनाना रिपब्लिकमै केही आधारमा अगाडि बढाउने भने त जे पनि भन्न पायो भने, तर नयाँ 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 नेपाल निर्माण गर्ने भने हामीले जगबाट सुरु गर्नु पऱ्यो नि त होइन। कमजोर जग छ भने हामीले माथि जेसुकै राखौँ, जहिले पनि कमजोर जग हुन्छ कि। सो यी कुराहरू चाहिँ नि, यी कुराहरू चाहिँ यो बलियो बनाउनुपर्छ कि हामीले फर्स्ट यो जबदेखि नै बलियो बनाउनुपर्छ। र कन्स्टिट्युसनलाई चाहिँ एउटा ऊ जसरी नै मान्नुपर्छ, यो एउटा चाहिँ त्यो भगवान्भन्दा ठुलो एउटा डकुमेन्ट जसरी चाहिँ मान्नुपर्छ, त्यसलाई चाहिँ एउटा रिलिजियन जसरी चाहिँ नै अगाडि ल्याएर जानुपर्छ। र त्यो त्यो भन्दैमा अब यहाँ के छ यो अब यो संविधानको बारेमा दिन्छु होइन। धेरै कुरा छ कि स्टेटमा यो संविधानमा धेरै लेखा छ कि, धेरै नै अनावश्यक रूपमा चाहिँ लेखा छ। स्टेट लेजिस्लेचरको कुरा संविधानमा लेख्ने होइन नि त, जेसुकै गरौँ क्या स्टेट लेजिस्लेचरमा, स्टेट लेजिस्ले तपाईँको चाहिँ संविधान छ, यसले चाहिँ स्टेट बनाएको छ, स्टेट होइन। अब फेडरल बनाएको छ, यहाँ कति पावर हुन्छ फेड छ होइन, अनि लोकल बनाएको छ, लोकल छ, अरू यो सबै चाहिँ कोर्ट्सहरूले जान्छ है, यो सबै यो बाहिर यो सबै सबै चाहिँ यो कोर्टहरूको जुरिस्डिक्सनमा हुन्छ है। जे पनि संविधानभित्र सबै उसको हुन्छ, संविधान बाहिर त कोर्टले चाहिँ पूर्ण रूपमा चाहिँ यसलाई तुरुन्तै यसलाई चाहिँ खारेज गर्नुपर्छ जेसुकै होस् होइन। तर तर कन्स होइन, कन्स्टिट्युसनले चाहिँ नि यो स्टेटलाई कसरी गर्नुपर्छ भनेर म्यान्डेट दिन पर्दैन क्या, फेडरललाई दिँदा पुग्छ होइन। 7वटा प्रोभिन्स हुन्छ भनेर मात्रै लेख्दा नि हुन्छ। र तपाईँको चाहिँ ओके ठिक छ, इट्स कन्सिस्ट अफ मेम्बर्स होइन। अब यहाँ लेखा छ कि अब थ्रु पास फर्स्ट पास द पोस्ट सिस्टम भनेर, अब मानौँ बागमतीलाई चाहिँ तपाईँको छुट्टै सिस्टमबाट जानु पऱ्यो भने त संविधानमा बागमतीलाई परिवर्तन गर्नु परेको छ ऊ, बागमती प्रदेशलाई सब के अरे आफ्नो आफ्नो चुनावी प्रक्रिया परिवर्तन गर्नु परेको छ। तर उसले चाहिँ फेरि कर्णालीको मान्छेलाई पनि ऊ चाहिने होइन, त्यो त त्यो त त्यो त त्यो त तपाईँको स्टेटभित्रको कन्स्टिट्युसनको ऊ होला नि त, को विषय होला नि त होइन। इलेक्सन सर्भे बेस्ड अन ओके ठिक छ अब यसमा के भनेको छ फर्स्ट 40% पनि प्रोपोर्सनलमा किन चाहियो बागमतीले जसरी जेसुकै गरोस् होइन त्यो त बागमतीभित्रको मात्रै सरोकारको विषय होला नि त होइन अब यसमा यसमा यी सबै के भने दलित इन्डिजिनियस खासरिया सबै चाहिएको छ अनि त्यसपछि तपाईँको चाहिँ यी सबै कुराहरू चाहिँ के भन्दाखेरि संविधानमै फर्स्टमा लेख्दा हुन्छ कि नेपालमा चाहिँ यो सबै जातहरूलाई चाहिँ फेयरली रिप्रेजेन्ट गर्नुपर्छ भनेर माथि लेख्न पायो अनि यो त खासमा औपचारिक अलिकति यो बुद्धि लगाएर गर्ने भयो भने चाहिँ यो सबै कुराहरू प्रत्येकमा चाहिँ कपी भएको छ कि त्यही भएर पनि यो डकुमेन्ट चाहिँ 200 पेजको छ कि प्रत्येकमा चाहिँ यसरी नै डिफाइन गरेको छ त्योभन्दा पनि फर्स्टमा गएर संविधानको फर्स्ट सुरुमै धेरै अगाडि नै होइन चाहिँ हामी जनता नेपाली जनता हामी सर्वभौम स्वतन्त्र देश भएको हो कुनैको कसैले पनि देशको स्वतन्त्रतालाई बेच्न मिल्दैन होइन यो रिपब्लिकलाई बेच्न मिल्दैन संविधानलाई बेच्न मिल्दैन र त्यसपछि अब त्यो दुई तिनवटा बुझापछि दुई तिनचोटि यसो दिएपछि एक दुई हरफपछि चाहिँ अब देशमा जात धेरै जातहरू छन् र जातीय भेदभाव पनि हुनु हुँदैन र कुनै कानुन अथवा कुनै व्यवस्था चाहिँ क्रिएट भयो कुनै अवस्था क्रिएट भयो कि देशभित्र जसले चाहिँ जातलाई चाहिँ असर गर्छ त्यो चाहिँ असंवैधानिक हुन्छ भनेर त्यस्तै अब हुन्छ नि त्यो असंवैधानिक त होइन तर त्यो चाहिँ हुनु हुँदैन भनेर त्यस्तै खालको ल्याङ्ग्वेज युज गर्यो भने चाहिँ के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि अथवा चाहिँ सबै जातलाई चाहिँ फेयरली रिप्रेजेन्ट गर्नुपर्छ भनेर लेख्यो भने धेरै जातहरू छन् फेयरली रिप्रेजेन्ट गर्नुपर्छ होइन भनेर भन्यो भने यो त्यो कुरा चाहिँ अब के हो त फेयरली रिप्रेजेन्ट होइन नेपालीमा अब कसरी भनिन्छ तर यस्तै एउटा केही भाषा युज गरेर एकदम भेग पाराले यसलाई युज गर्यो भने होइन मानौँ बागमतीले चाहिँ के कानुन निकालेर भन्दाखेरि ठिक छ बागमतीमा चाहिँ सबैजना खसरिया मात्रै हुनुपर्छ प्रतिनिधिहरू भनेर चाहिँ संविधानमा आयो अरे ओके भनेपछि त कोही जसले पनि त्यो एउटा रिट फाइल गरेर यसलाई चाहिँ सर्वोच्चमा लिएर गएर सर्वोच्चले त्यो पढ्छ ए एक्चुअली यो त असंवैधानिक भयो होइन त्यहाँबाट त केस त क्रिएट भयो नि त यो संविधानमा यत्रो लेख्नै परेन नि यी कुराहरू त संविधान यो त्यसरी चाहिँ उसलाई जुडिसियरीलाई चाहिँ इम्पावर गर्ने होइन यी लेभल्सहरूलाई चेक्स एन्ड ब्यालेन्स गर्ने त जुडिसियरीको ऊ हो नि त टर्म्स अफ अलमोस्ट 5 years भनेर चाहिँ मेबी बागमतीलाई चाहिँ एभ्री 3 years गर्नु मन लाग्यो कि कर्णालीलाई 7 वर्षमा गर्नु मन लाग्यो कि त्यो त उसको अधिकारको कुरा हो अब मानौँ क्वालिफिकेसन स्टेट असेम्ब्ली होइन असेम्ब्लीमा जानको लागि चाहिँ 25 वर्ष भनेको छ लुम्बिनीमा चाहिँ तपाईँको चाहिँ 24मा चाहिँ घटाउनु मन लाग्यो यो त संविधान नै संशोधन गर्नु पऱ्यो नि त होइन त्यो लुम्बिनीको विषय त किन संविधान संशोधन राष्ट्रिय फेडरल संविधान संशोधन गर्नु कि यो त यति मूर्खता छ यहाँ होइन अब कुनै नभनौँ न यी सबै कुराहरू के हुन्छ कसरी हुन्छ होइन यो चाहिँ प्रत्येक बागमतीको आफ्नै एउटा संविधान हुनुपर्छ होइन बागमतीले आफै एउटा संविधान बनाएर ल हाम्रो संविधानमा चाहिँ यसरी भनेर उनीहरूले आफ्नै टर्म्स डिटर्मिन गर्ने कर्णालीको छुट्टै हुन्छ कोशीको छुट्टै हुन्छ होस् मधेसको छुट्टै हुन्छ यो त्यसरी चाहिँ हुनुपर्ने हो क्या किनभने त्यो अधिकार त त्यो त आफ्नो स्वतन्त्रता हुन्छ नि त उनीहरूको अब यो सबै दिएको छ यो सबै दिनै पर्दैन क्या कसैलाई 2/3 कसैलाई 3/4 चाहिएको छ होला हुन्छ नि त त्यो आफ्नै एउटा इच्छा हुन्छ होइन यसलाई यसरी कमनलिटी यो सबै सातैवटाले एउटै रूपमा एउटै मोडालिटीमा चाहिँ फु गर्नुपर्छ नि छैन क्या होइन समलिङले यस्तो उस्तोले यो सबै यो अनफोर्चुनेट अब कोहीले कोरमको लागि बढी चाहिएन यो त छुट्टै राजनीतिक परिस्थितिले जनाउँछ नि त सो यत्रो दिएको छ कि यत्रो सबै त दिनै पर्यो सबै केस लले चाहिँ डिटर्मिन गरेर स्टेटको संविधानले डिटर्मिन गर्नु सक्थ्यो क्या यो सबै अननेसेसरी कुराहरू फर्म कमिटी स्टेटमा फर्म कमिटी यो लेख्नै पर्दैन क्या ठिक छ उसले जेसुकै गरोस् होइन त्यो संवैधानिक असंवैधानिक हुनु भएन संविधानभित्र बस्नु पऱ्यो र फेडरल लसँग नि ऊ चाहिँ कोलाइड चाहिँ गर्नु भएन होइन बागमतीले चाहिँ हामी चाहिँ फेडरल लभन्दा माथि छ भनेर संविधानमा आफ्नो संविधानमा लिनु मिलेन होइन तर त्योभन्दा बढी त जे पनि गर्नु पायो नि त एज लङ एज ठिक छ त्यसमा मान्छे मार्नु पायो भने बागमतीले फेरि मान्छे मार्नु हाम्रो संविधानमा चाहिँ बागमतीले भन्ला हाम्रो संविधानमा चाहिँ मान्छे मार्नु मिल्छ भनेर लेख्ला त्यो लेख्न पाएन किन भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ संविधानले चाहिँ मान्छे मार्नु हुँदैन भनेर मान्छेहरूको राइट्स छ भनेर चाहिँ फ्री स्पिचलाई चाहिँ इम्पिड गर्नु हुँदैन रहेछ बागमतीले फ्री स्पिच इम्पिड गर्न खोज्यो भने पाउँदैन त्यो असंवैधानिक भयो र त्यो सुप्रिम कोर्टले तुरुन्तै त्यसलाई खारेज गरिदिन्छ स्टेटले पढ्दैन कि यति यत्रो यो यसमा 5 पेज दिएर यो सबै गर्नै नपर्ने होइन त्यो अधिकार लजहरू बनाउने अधिकार छ उनीहरूसँग भनेर भन्दैन होइन एकदम फेक पाराले पुग्यो द्याट्स इट यो सब चाहिँदै चाहियो सबै वाइहाल्छ सबै वाइहाल्छ कि लोकलमा यत्रो छ सो ओके एनिवेज म अलिकति एउटा टेन्जेन्टमा गएँ होइन डिस्ट्रिक्ट्सहरूलाई किन डिफाइन गर्न पर्यो ओके एनिवेज फेडरल पावर्स भनेर चाहिँ लिस्ट अफ पावर्स भनेर चाहिँ होइन हामी चाहिँ स्टेट पावर्सतिर कुरा गरिरहेको छौँ पुलिसको कुरा है पुलिसलाई दिने होइन स्टेट्स एन्ड अदर गभर्मेन्ट यो एकदम भेग छ यसको यो कुरै छैन होइन स्टेटिस्टिक चाहिँ ठिक छ तर किन स्टेट ठिक छ यो त गर्ला तर यसलाई संविधानमै लेख्नुपर्छ र कि उनीहरूको पावर भनेको स्टेटको स्टेटिस्टिक त्यो त संविधानमा नलेखे पनि त बागमती प्रदेशलाई चाहिँ कुनै स्टेटिस्टिक्स कसले गर्नु पायो उसले आफै गर्न पाउँछ होला नि त होइन त्यो लेखिरहनु पर्छ र होइन पर्दैन नि तर यो पुलिसको अधिकार चाहिँ मलाई लाग्छ पूर्ण रूपमा दिनु पर्यो स्टेट युनिभर्सिटिज भनेर छ अर्को चाहिँ के भन्दाखेरि एजुकेसन यो चाहिँ मेरो आफ्नै धारणा होइन तर एजुकेसन पूर्ण रूपमा सरकारी स्कुलहरू प्रोभिन्सले चलाउनु दिने अनि प्रोभिन्सले आफ्नो संविधान लेखोस् आफ्नो कानुनहरू पास गरोस् उनीहरूले चाहिँ कसरी स्कुलहरू चलाउनुहुन्छ चलाओस् होइन त्यो खालेको कुनै छैन डेभोल्युसन अफ पावरै छैन अब यो संविधान लेखाएको छ अब बुद्धि कुराको छैन होइन कसरी अगाडि बढ्ने भनेर दिमागमा कसैले लगाएको छैन एग्रिकल्चर लाइफस्टाइल यो चाहिँदैन कि यो सबै यो ननसेन्स म्यानेजमेन्ट अफ ल्यान्ड्स ल्यान्ड रिकर्स यो ठिक छ पब्लिक सर्भिस कमिसन मलाई थाहा छैन तर नट भेरी स्टेट ब्युरो अफ इन्भेस्टिगेसन पुलिसभित्र पर्छ तर ठिक छ इन्भेस्टिगेट गर्नु पाएँ स्टेटभित्र ठिक छ त्यो राम्रै कुरा I mean, you have to, एकदम explicitly, I think you have to delegate these powers, right? Police, education, right? Road, infra. Right? So infra, and then finally, it's like it's managing laws, right? And laws. Why do you need laws? बागमतीमा तपाईको बागमतीमा मानौँ कुहिएको तरकारी बेच्यो भने एउटा कानुन लाग्छ होइन त्यो बागमतीले आफैले चाहिँ उ गरोस् कि कुहिएको तरकारी बेच्यो भने यस्तो हुन्छ ठिक छ घरहरू बनाउँदाखेरि यो मापदण्ड फलो गर्नुपर्छ बागमतीले होला कर्णालीमा त्यही मापदण्ड फलो गर्नु परेन होइन त्यो मापदण्डहरू सेट गर्ने त प्रोभिन्सलाई दिँदा हुन्छ नि त अधिकार होइन यस्तो कुराहरू होइन त्यो त छ होला मलाई थाहा छैन त्यो त्यस्तो कुराहरू त छ होला होइन अब पढाइमा अब बागमतीको करिकुलम यस्तो होला कर्णालीको करिकुलम यस्तो होला मध्य प्रदेशको करिकुलम यस्तो होला मध्य प्रदेशमा चाहिँ मैथिली सिकाउन मन लाग्ला होइन टाउन होइन तपाईँको लुम्बिनीमा चाहिँ भोजपुरी सिकाउन मन लाग्ला पाउँछ कोशीमा चाहिँ तपाईँको चाहिँ किराँत भाषाहरू सिकाउन मन लाग्ला अलिकति बढी ठिक छ एजुकेसन कन्ट्रोल दिने गण्डकीमा तपाईँको चाहिँ यो मगर तामाङ यी भाषाहरू सिकाउनकै बढी मन लाग्छ जनसङ्ख्या अनुसार मान्छेको इच्छा अनुसार त्यो पायो यो सबै हामी ननसेन्स जस्तो लाग्छ होइन र यो सबै कुरा चाहिँ किन आयो भन्दाखेरि मेरो अल्टरनेटिभ सोल्युसन भनेको चाहिँ प्रदेश खारेज होइन कि मेरो अल्टरनेटिभ सोल्युसन भनेको चाहिँ हाम्रो यो अघिको नम्बरमा जाऊँ यसलाई जाऊँ र मैले भन्छु वार्डलाई चाहिँ यो 6000वटा वार्डलाई चाहिँ घटाएर यसलाई ठ्याक्कै चाहिँ यसलाई चाहिँ तपाईँको 6743लाई डिभाइडेड बाई 3 गरिदिनुहोस् होइन 2247 भन्ने वार्ड्स यो पनि धेरै हुन्छ 2247 वार्ड्स पनि धेरै हुन्छ होइन तर तपाईँले चाहिँ 20,000 इम्प्लोइजबाट तपाईँको चाहिँ झन्डै मानौँ 6,000 इम्प्लोइजतिर जानुहुन्छ 753 म्युनिसिपालिटिजबाट चाहिँ तपाईँको 4 to 500 म्युनिसिपालिटिजमा जानुहोस् हामीले यहाँ देखिहालेको छौँ तपाईँको चाहिँ एउटा म्युनिसिपालिटीमा चाहिँ एउटा म्युनिसिपालिटीमा 16 छ अर्को म्युनिसिपालिटीमा 107 छ त्यसमा 845 छ अब ग्रेभेनीको त मेट्रो हो होइन त्यही भने यो डिफ्रेन्स चाहिँ चाहिएन नि त हामीले घटाइदिनु 400 देखि 500 म्युनिसिपालिटी लेजिस्लेटिभ मान्छे 550 चाहिँदैन ठ्याक्कै यसलाई चाहिँ एक्ज्याक्टली फुल्ली 137 डिभाइडेड बाई 4 यो 550लाई डिभाइडेड बाई 4 गरिदियो भने हुन्छ, पैसा बच्छ। सो प्रदेश खारेज गर्नुभन्दा पनि हामीले चाहिँ हाम्रो दिमाग लगाएर यो रिफर्म्सहरू भनेको चाहिँ कुनै हिसाबमा पनि त्यो ह्यामरले लाएर बनाउ गर्ने होइन क्या। रिफर्म्स भनेको कस्तो कुरा भन्दा एकदम सर्जिकल प्रिसिसनले गर्ने कुरा हो। डक्टरले स्क्यापल युज गरेर होइन अन्य यन्त्रहरू प्रयोग गरेर एकदम प्रिसाइज पाराले गर्छ नि। त्यसको इफेक्ट्स अन्ततिर नजाओस्, हामीलाई जहाँ जहाँ चाहिँ जे प्रब्लम छ अहिले किन चाहिँ हामीले प्रदेश खारेज गर्न होला भन्दाखेरि खर्चिलो बढी भयो। तर हामीलाई खर्च म्यानेज गर्नु छ भने त ठिक छ त, खर्च म्यानेज गर्ने भने त अलिकति बुद्धि लगायो भने त यो गर्न सकिन्छ नि त होइन। तपाईँको यहाँबाट तपाईँको कति पैसा खर्च सेभ हुन्छ, यहाँबाट कति पैसा सेभ हुन्छ, यहाँबाट कति पैसा सेभ हुन्छ, म सबै देखाउँछु। नम्बर चाहिँ अहिले देखाएर भने चाहिँ स्प्रेडसिटमा बसेर चाहिँ म तपाईँलाई देखाउँछु है। हामीले यसरी हेर्नुपर्छ। र र मानव यो सानो भयो भने इम्बेजलमेन्ट हुने चान्स थोरै हुन्छ। सो 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 कर्मचारी चाहिँ तपाईँको मानौँ जस्तो एउटा ऱ्यान्डम नम्बर होइन, तपाईँको चाहिँ 1,00,000 1,00,000 इम्प्लोइजबाट चाहिँ तपाईँले यो चाहिँ लोकल लेभल र प्रोभिन्सियल लेभलमा है, यो चाहिँ फेडरलमा भनेको छैन। फेडरलमा ठिक छ 275 छ, फेडरलमा म हात्दिनँ क्या। ठिक छ, फेडरलमा पोलिटिक्स पनि अलिकति इन्ट्रेस्टिङ हुन्छ, मान्छेहरू धेरै भयो भने राम्रो हुन्छ होइन, धेरै सोचहरू चाहिन्छ। समानुपातिकलाई पनि समानुपातिक चाहिँ इस्यु छ, तर समानुपातिक पनि अहिले बेला एक्चुली छोडिदिँदा पनि मलाई खास म हात्या छैन कि होइन। त्यसले नयाँ नयाँ पार्टीहरूलाई पनि चान्स दिन्छ। समानुपातिक भनेको चाहिँ एक्चुली के भन्दाखेरि यो प्रत्यक्ष निर्वाचित कार्यकारीले जसले भनिरहनु भएको छ उहाँहरूले चाहिँ समानुपातिकमा ध्यान दिनुहोस्। Balin also let's imagine Balin formed a party, right? He's like, okay, I'm gonna form a party, but I'm only gonna run in one place because I don't want to deal with all these constituencies, right? So he's gonna run in his place from Kathmandu, right? But he's gonna register his party for Samanupatik, right? Malele ल्याउँछ 40-50 वटा भोट ल्यायो अरे 100मा 40% जनताले चाहिँ समानुपातिकमा चाहिँ उसलाई चिन्न नआयो। So नयाँ पार्टी who are people who are very popular, this really helps Samanupati, right? It really helps those people. Samanupati really helps those people. It gives people like that, single person or a small group of people who don't have the resources to campaign in every single constituency. It helps those people. And that's very good. And there might be somebody who votes for their Nepali Congress or UML leader from their area because that leader has done stuff and they like them, right? But they might vote for Balin's party or whoever else's party for Samanupati. So that's actually a decent system, right? People say, I mean, we'll talk about this right here. Usually, I'll make a different video. यो प्रत्यक्ष निर्वाचित कार्यकारीको बारेमा चाहिँ म छुट्टै गर्छु। यो चाहिँ प्रदेश खारेजको बारेमा थियो, रिफर्म्सको बारेमा। सो त्यसलाई कसरी सल्भ गर्ने मैले सल्युसन दिएँ। मेरो सल्युसन भनेको चाहिँ यसलाई यो रूपमा होइन, यो म्युनिसिपालिटीलाई चाहिँ अलमोस्ट डिभाइड बाई 2 यसलाई चाहिँ डिभाइड बाई 4, प्रदेशलाई डिभाइड बाई 4, यसलाई पनि तपाईँको चाहिँ डिभाइड बाई 3 जति गरिदिँदा हुन्छ। डिभाइड बाई 3 गर्दाखेरि तपाईँको चाहिँ 1/3 अफ द मनी चाहिँ अलमोस्ट सेभ हुन्छ। 1/3 त सेभ हुँदैन, त्योभन्दा थोरै सेभ हुन्छ होइन। तर तपाईँको यो इम्बाजोमा के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि तपाईँको चाहिँ 100% चाहिँ तपाईँकोमा चाहिँ मानौँ 10% चाहिँ 10% 100%मा 10% चाहिँ इम्बाजो हुन्छ अरे, इन्भेस्टमेन्ट हुन्छ अरे होइन। र तपाईँले चाहिँ यो 100%लाई चाहिँ तपाईँले ठ्याक्क 100 भने 100% नभन्नु, 100मा चाहिँ तपाईँको चाहिँ 10% हुन्थ्यो अरे। 100लाई चाहिँ तपाईँले चाहिँ 70मा पुऱ्याउनु भयो भने नि, इभन इफ उति नै दरमा हुन्छ 10% आयो नि त, यसमा त तपाईँले चाहिँ 10बाट चाहिँ 7मा भन्नुभयो नि त, 3को डिफ्रेन्स आयो नि त यो घटाएर होइन। इन्भेस्टमेन्टमा 3को आयो तर यहाँ चाहिँ 30को आयो। तपाईँको नेटो भनेको चाहिँ 33 सेभिङ्स भन्नुभयो होइन। एन्ड देन अभियसली अब मैले कमिसनको नि आर्ग्युमेन्ट दिइसकेको थिएँ अघि नै होइन। ओके, सो त्यो भयो। अब अनि त्यही त 100K इम्प्लोइजबाट चाहिँ तपाईँले 70K इम्प्लोइज गर्नुभयो। तर आई मिन 5वटा वार्डलाई 3टा वार्ड बनाउँदाखेरि होइन तपाईँको अलमोस्ट त्यति नै रूपमा डिभाइड गर्न मिल्दैन। कर्मचारी अलिकति बढी चाहिएन, काम धेरै छ भने ठिक छ, तर तपाईँको यो हुन्छ नि यही रेसियोमा चाहिँ जाँदैन, तर केही हिसाबमा चाहिँ सेभिङ्स हुन्छ। सो न फाइनली अब चाहिँ हामी नम्बर्स हेर्छौँ, नम्बर्स गेम हो होइन। यो डाटा चाहिँ मैले तपाईँको I got this from, let's see, Ministry of Finance Comptroller General's website. Right, so this is from Financial Control Malika. Um, so this is from that. This is 2020 to 2021 budget, right? But because they don't have the recent one in this kind of this Excel format, but it's still pretty good. I think the ratios are very good. So they have all these things, right? So how do they spend their capital? Okay, how do they expend their recurrent? So there are three types of spending. Okay? Three types of spending. Okay, so capital, and then financing. So financing is like paying for loans and um, making investments and stuff like that, right? So I mean, I'm not too concerned about. Recurrent is everything that you have to pay every year: salaries, fuel, right? Food. I mean, uniform. It's right here, right? Medical allowances, fuel, programs, and different seminars and meetings and trainings and all these things, right? Okay, and then you have capital, which is Purabadhar Vikas, Pujigat Kharcha, for construction, build roads, and we have that actually. Anyways, so this is where the data is from. So I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to see if I want to pull this out here. Okay, so recurring. So this is what they have to spend every year, just on these are recurring expenses. Okay, so I think this came from this, right? I think this might have come from this. Okay, so what's the number down here? 119. Mine ain't. No, no. Yeah, I think this is federal. So confused. Okay, just give me a second here, guys. Yeah, no, this is it. This is it. Okay, so it's just this, right? So employee salary. This is how much they spend. Um, this is how much they spend. This is my stuff, so it's 7.6% of total expenditure of total recurring expenditures employee salary, right? Um, that's the breakdown. This is total. Okay, so I'm looking. So that's what this is, right? This is total recurrent spending. The two biggest things are line items are conditional grants. These are transfers to local and provincial governments on condition. So we will give you this money, but you have to do something, right? For X amount of for X projects or for capital or for recurrent spending stuff like that, right? So these are conditional grants, and then these are equalization grants. So if you have disparity in terms of tax collection, and so people can't, if lower bodies can't make their payments, right? I think that's what this is for. And so this is almost 33%, 32%. So I'm not going to say anything about this right now, right? But then you look at it, 8%, 8% of the 8% of the entire government's current salary budget, 8% is salary. I mean, that's ridiculous. Social Security is good, right? Social Security is I mean, it's a socialist country, right? It's a democratic socialist country. So you would think that sure. Actually, I wouldn't even mind this number being higher, being like 10%. This is literally the government giving out money to Nepali citizens. So, you know, I mean, pensions and disability, that's great. Okay. Building construction, that's fine. Right? But employee salary is 8%. Meal is 1%. Right? Um, I mean, uniform is like point 0, point 0.2, it's 0.2%. But that's, I mean, when you look at this, right? Well, I mean, this is, it doesn't count this. So if you don't count these two numbers, these are actually big numbers. And so I've also converted it into dollars. So all of all of recurrent spending is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 8.5 billion dollars. So this is right, recurrent is 8.5 B. Okay, capital is right here. Capital is 2.2, right? 2.2, 2.2, is 1.57 billion. This was 2020 numbers. So these numbers are higher now. Okay, capital. Now, if we look at capital spending, the highest number is road and bridge construction. Road and bridge construction is 40%, right? So 1.57 billion times 0.5. So uh, so capital, right? So it's 628 million. Remember this number: 620 roads. Right? Okay, so that's capital, right? Okay, and this is provincial. So provincial government by economic head. 11% of provincial government budget goes towards employee salary. So what is this? So this is 538 million. So 538 million, right? Which is, let's see, 538 million dollars. Right? So 538 times 0.1195 is 64 million. 64 million for that. Uniform, meal, right? I mean, look at this. This is, I mean, what pisses me off is there's fuel, right? Okay, that's a huge amount of money. I mean, this is for province government, right? This is where you have 550 people, right? You have fuel for office purposes. There's fuel for official, right? And then there is also, I mean, this is ridiculous. Okay, maybe they don't have it here. But, oh, here, fuel for other purposes. So let's just look at these numbers, right? 14%. 14% for official, right? Or no, for office purpose. I don't even know what office purpose is. Official, okay, that's like this could take this could I use good. Other purposes, 10%. Ridiculous. And so what I'm trying to get at is that, okay, so you have 64 million, right? And if you divide 64 by 4, that's $16 million, right? And now just add this 628 plus 16. Okay, just let's just add that. Oh, no, it's not 16. It's 48. It's 48 million. Let's add that. So now, okay, so 628, which goes towards roads, right? At 48, this is why. Why? So you just subtract 48, and so you get 48. And this is the savings by for, by reducing the number of provincial people from 550. You just divide it by four. You just reduce the size of the provincial government by four. Okay, and then you obviously have savings in other forms. Um, these conditional grants. Okay, that's why it's so big. Um, medicine purchases. Okay, maybe that's for hospitals and stuff. Um, I mean, it's really these numbers that are these are the numbers that I find super sus. That if you just reduce the size of the government, so 15.9%, 0.7%, right? 564 million. So that's absurd. This is the local government. This is how much the local government spends. Okay, I think this is better. This is how much the local government spends. Okay. I think these are all in dollars. So so local is 1.67 billion. Okay. Um, local is 40% employee salaries. So that's why I'm saying protest harezore motriyo guys. Right? So 1.7, 1.67 times 0.4 is 668 million. The and salary these are the numbers. So this might be like teachers and public hospitals and health posts and all these things, right? These are all good things to have, right? But you can still make a lot of savings in that aspect. And I mean, so what do we look at? 668, right? I'm sure you could easily eke out 100 million, right? And so 628 plus 48 plus 100. Now your road budget goes to 776. Right? If you just reallocate that um, into capital, or I mean whatever you do, right? It doesn't matter. And what's the fuel? Like it's creating fuel for official purposes, right? 0.1%, 0.6%, and then fuel for other purposes, right? 0.06%. But these are huge numbers when you look at general office expenses. 1%, 1.4% for office expenses. It's a bit much, I think. Is what I'm trying to say. Um, I was gonna do some interesting data analysis. So they have they have province level data. Yeah. So they have province level data. I was gonna write a paper about this. Perhaps um, I'll make a video if I have it when I my find my results. They have each municipality how much they were budgeted and how much they spend and how much capital they spend and how much recurrent how much of the budget was totally used. And so I think there are some interesting trends you can look at, which I'm working on. So if I find the results, I'll write a paper and I'll probably make a video about it as well. Right? But my whole point in this video was kind of kind of addressing this. These are the proposals, right? There is a better alternative. Reduce the size. Oh my god, size of government. Okay, that's the better idea. That's the better argument that I made. That what I think is the better solution, right? Instead of Pradesh Kharif. Why do you need Pradesh? It decentralizes power, so it's not always Kathmandu baru hukumaira, right? But also you can have you can have distinct provincial level politics that are catered to the people that live there. Right? You can have specific laws, specially specific laws. कर्णालीमा छुट्टै लजहरू चाहिन्छ, कर्णालीको भूमि छुट्टै छ, मधेसमा छुट्टै लजहरू चाहिन्छ होइन. So especially as the country develops, right? If in 30 years you have a very robust economy, and that's what I think about, right? I think about, okay, well, in 30 years, is it better to have provinces or is it not good to have provinces? In the United Kingdom, there is one large city, and all the other rest of the areas are very very weak, right? The UK has four nations or four kingdoms, for like countries, right? Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, and England, right? But it doesn't have devolution of power like they do in Nepal, right? So there's a parliament. It's a very unitary system. There are some like Scotland does stuff, but within England there isn't. Right? It's England's got like 60 million people or something, like some crazy number, right? 50, 60 million people, but they all have these counties or councils, right? And then they have straight up of federal government, the federal government in parliament. Um, so what that's led to is that London's the largest city. All the development happens in London, and the rest of the cities are kind of very mid. Right? Even Manchester, compared to London, is not that great. That's because you have asymmetric allocation of power and resources, right? And development also kind of happens asymmetric. I don't think we want it to be the case that Kathmandu is the large. Well, I mean, it's fine if it's the largest city or Kathmandu Valley, right? But you don't want it to be the only large city. You kind of want all these other cities to develop as well, so that you have multiple centers of of power and wealth and industry, right? That kind of diversification is really good for the long run. It's not looking good for London, because all the young people have to come to London if they want opportunities, right? And so you have all these issues in London with crime and you know housing crises and stuff like that. You need rapid expansion in London, but all these other cities, no young people want to live there because there's nothing there, right? And so those are pretty derelict. Right? So I think that kind of we kind of have to look at these things, in a long term sense, because we're building the foundation, right? So going back to this, we're building the foundation, right? So I think for that kind of analysis, in 30 years, I want to be confident and say, you know, it's better to have those disparate entities that can kind of discriminate in the kind of laws that they want to make. If people in Bagmati Pradesh want to make certain laws, right, they should be able to do that without affecting the people in Kodali. That's the great thing, right? Bagmati might be way ahead in many things, right? And so they should make laws that's according to however further ahead they are compared to other states, right? Madhya Pradesh, right? Koshi Pradesh, Lumbini Pradesh. These are all Tarai Pradeses, right? And so they are large agricultural powerhouses. Okay, so you want to make agricultural laws that apply to all of those provinces, right? Without inflicting these hill-based provinces, right? And so they should have the right to make their own laws that suits them without it impacting Konali Pradesh, right? And if you give them the right, if you devolve power, you give them the powers to determine their education, police, right, making laws, collecting taxes, and investing those taxes on their own citizens. Um, you have this like competition between different provinces, like in India, right? There's the Gujarat model, there's the Kerala model, right? There's the lack of models in the Gangetic Plains, right? And India has not one, not two cities, but many, right? I mean, there are like two or three tier one cities, but then many tier two cities that are very, very robust. And so that kind of allows for that kind of development, this brothers system, right? So if it's really about cutting spending, the brothers Samsung has got right? It's a way for these parties to मध्यवर्गीय कार्यकर्तालाई यसो अब केही गरे पार्टीलाई सहयोग गरेको अनुसार एउटा केही भात खुवाइदिने एउटा पैँचो तिर्दिने बाटो भएको छ अहिले. Right? So if you really want to get rid of that, right, that's fine. Reduce the size, right? So 130 people, 130 people, right, divided by 7, right? So going back to this, right? So 93 becomes 20, 107 becomes 25, 110 becomes 30, right? 60 becomes 15, 87 becomes, just divide all these things by 4. I think that's a much, right? So I think that's a much better model. A smaller government also means that the private sector becomes more powerful. We want the private sector to be more powerful because, despite what anybody else says, the history of entire the history of humanity has shown that the private sector is the one that really leads to that really takes charge in terms of economic growth and new technology and productivity growth, right? All these things, productivity growth happens due to the private sector. The internet, while it was early on, it was subsidized by the government. It was a government project, which led to tremendous productivity growth. Was a was a was a private sector endeavor. Right? They made the investments, and now we have the internet. Same with AI. Same with machines, right? Same with the chemical revolution. Same with the agricultural revolution. All these revolutions happened because of the private sector. And so if you reduce the size of the government, right, it's less overbearing, right? All it has to do is just capital financing, provide basic services, provide a good education, right? Make these social security payments, right? Make these transfer payments to old people and provide government hospitals. All these things it needs to do, right? But you don't need all this unnecessary politics. You don't need to, misuse all those taxpayer dollars, right, or rupees. Reduce the size of the government, right? Let the private sector run amok for 10 years, right? And then in 10 years, you go, okay, as a country, you go, okay, well, now that the private sector has gone too powerful, now we need to slightly increase the power of the government and the state so that it can kind of rein in the private sector, right? So I'm not a full-on libertarian. I don't believe that the government needs to be small all the time. I think these things happen in balance. When one gets stronger, when one gets strong, the other gets weak, right? And when one gets way too strong, everything just kind of stops working. So you have to make this weaker, and then this guy kind of gets stronger, right? And if you can manage that, if you can expertly manage that, right? If you're very adept about managing this, right? You can kind of bring the whole country up. I think. So the first step I think is reducing the size of the government. Maybe even making some tax cuts, right, for corporations, for individuals, for vehicles and stuff like that. Reducing the vehicle tax from 250 to 200 over the course of 5 years, 10 years. That might be a very good start for the country, right? Reducing corporate tax by some percent, reducing other taxes by some percent, right? So that people that are working abroad might feel okay. Well, if Nepal reduces the corporate tax, I might feel inclined to do my remote work from Nepal so that I can pay less in taxes, right? I mean, there are so many things that we can delve into. But yeah, thank you for watching Dhanyavad. I'm sure my dad's watching, my mom's watching. I'm gonna tell them to watch. So hopefully you guys watched it, and hopefully other people watch it. And yeah, let's have let's extend this debate discussion in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys later. And then hopefully I'll make another one, and I can go even more in depth, especially if some people comment and say, "Hey, I need more clarification," or I disagree with this. We can have a deeper discussion in the comments or in the next video. But thank you for watching.